Welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's Saturday, and there's a few injury updates that are worth mentioning. I wanted to bring your attention to them. Let's get into it. All right, first name that I think is really important, DeAndre Hopkins. He's a game time decision tomorrow, and even though he's definitely banged up, it's really unlikely, in my opinion, that he misses this game. He's only missed one game in his entire career, and that was a Week 17 game when the seeding didn't matter. So I really don't think that Hopkins is going to sit out. However, I had him ranked as my wide receiver 2 coming into this week, and obviously that is not the case anymore. He's fallen all the way down to wide receiver 15 if he plays. It's really hard to bench DeAndre Hopkins. However, his usage is going to be a little bit concerning if you have him on your team. So let's look at last game when he definitely sustained that injury, and I think it happened on the play that he scored a touchdown, because in the first 12 plays of the game, DeAndre Hopkins was targeted on 4 of those 12 snaps. However, the rest of his game was completely different. There were 47 snaps total, and he played on 97% of them, so it's not like he was out of the game. However, he was targeted 0 times, so basically he was taken out of the game by this injury. I assumed maybe it had something to do with Patrick Peterson coverage. I didn't watch all of this game live, and Rondale Moore filled up the highlight reel, so that's why I didn't fully grasp what happened to Hopkins before yesterday. So I do think Hopkins plays, but he's definitely going to be used as a decoy, and if he gets targeted, it's only going to be on sideline throws and in the end zone. I really think they want to avoid him getting tackled in this game. Also, they're playing the Jags. It's not like they really need him to win. So I think in the second half, he's really not going to get that many targets at all. However, I do think he'll be used in the red zone, and that's why I think he probably scores a touchdown. However, especially in DFS, I am completely avoiding Hopkins. However, whether he starts or not, it's a massive upgrade for the other weapons in Arizona. We saw Rondale Moore explode last game, and obviously Hopkins' injury status had something to do with that. But the main beneficiary was definitely Max Williams, the tight end. In the first game, he didn't catch a single pass. However, in game 2, he was targeted 7 times. He caught all 7 for 94 yards. And there's a chance that he gets another 5 targets or so in this game too. The Jaguars defense doesn't scare you at all, and the Arizona Cardinals are going to put up a lot of points on the board. So that's why I think Max Williams is a very interesting flyer at tight end. I've got him ranked as my number 15 tight end. And I've bumped up Rondale Moore all the way up to wide receiver 20, assuming Hopkins starts. I think he's a must-start play this week. If you can get him as your flex, feel confident about him. And if Hopkins happens to sit out, he is a game-time decision after all, then I'd have Rondale Moore all the way up as wide receiver 10. I think he's definitely going to be the number 1 option for Kyler. And in this offense, that's just fantasy gold. So a must start for Rondale Moore this week. I really love him. And if you happen to pick him up on the waiver wire, plug him into your lineup, you won't regret it. It's obviously a bit of a boost for Chase Edmonds and James Conner as well. However, I still just don't really trust this backfield, and I think James Conner is going to get the bulk of the carries in the fourth quarter as they try to just eat out the clock when they're clearly going to have a big lead at the end of this game. So that's the news in Arizona. Some news in Cincinnati. T. Higgins is doubtful. Now, he did practice on Friday, which is a good sign long term. It means he'll probably play next week at the latest. However, I kind of don't really want him to play. He did injure his arm, and I want him to be fully healthy going forward. I do have him on my team, and I picked up Tyler Boyd, who was available on the waiver wire in his place. And assuming T. Higgins doesn't start, then I think this is a big upgrade for Tyler Boyd. There's also a bit of a weakness in the Pittsburgh secondary when it comes to the slot. So I would move up Tyler Boyd all the way up to my wide receiver 23. I think the volume and targets is going to be there. And with T. Higgins not there, the odds of him scoring a touchdown go up significantly. So I like Tyler Boyd a lot more if T. Higgins sits. And Jamar Chase is still a high upside flex play around wide receiver 27 to 30 range, basically. But I think Joe Mixon sees a bit more benefit and a few more targets out of the backfield. However, I'm not downgrading Joe Burrow at all, because there's also some important news in this game. Not only will Deontay Johnson be out, TJ Watt is also going to sit out. He's been declared out with a groin injury, and that just makes me more confident in my bet that the Bengals are going to win this game outright. They're being given 3 points as the underdog in this game against the spread, so if you can bet on them, I really like the Bengals this week. Lock it in. And then a few more things that are a little bit less significant but still important. Tua Tagovailoa has been ruled out and placed on IR, so he's going to miss at least 3 games. And I think that bodes well for Mike Gesicki. He got 3 targets with Jacoby Brissett last week. And I think it's a little bit concerning for Jalen Waddle. Also, Will Fuller will be coming back. So the rapport that Waddle has with Tua is not there with Brissett. It may take a little bit of time to get fully going. In Las Vegas, Josh Jacobs is doubtful. I don't think he's going to play, and it doesn't really affect Kenyon Drake that much because Peyton Barber was very involved last week. So unfortunately, not a huge upgrade for Kenyon Drake. Elijah Mitchell in San Francisco is doubtful, and JaMychal Hasty has been ruled out, which means Trey Sermon, who's been cleared to play, gone through the concussion protocol, is a full go. And if he's the starting running back in San Francisco, he's a must start. I would have him all the way up to number 13 in my running back rankings, assuming Elijah Mitchell sits out completely. However, if a Mitchell does start, then he will get the bulk of the carries, and I would have him around running back 20 or so because I don't think he's going to get a full workload given his injury status. And I'd have Trey Sermon as an interesting flex play up at 26 because anyone can score from anywhere in this San Francisco backfield. So very interesting to monitor, and if you held on to Trey Sermon after drafting him, I think it's going to pay off this week. And I think once that happens, he's kind of just going to become the lead back here. So I think it's going to pay off rather quickly. I'm very, very hyped on Trey Sermon. Dalvin Cook is questionable with an ankle injury, and I have a feeling that he's going to play. Mike Zimmer did confirm that he does not need to practice in order to play. However, they did sign Amir Abdullah to the active roster, which is a concern and a little bit worrying if you have Dalvin Cook. The fact that they feel the need to have an extra running back for depth in case of emergency is just not a good sign. So that's why you want to have Madison handcuffed in case you have Dalvin Cook, and just monitor the inactive list an hour and a half before kickoff. Depending on his status, you will start or sit Alexander Madison in his place. And I don't really expect the world from Alexander Madison. I don't think he's the same level of player as Dalvin Cook is, but I still would have him inside my top 20, a very big workload, and a pretty average, reliable running back 2 this week, but not an amazing matchup. I'm not fully sold that anyone can run on them the way Derrick Henry did last week. They were a pretty stout run defense last year. And Darrell Henderson with a rib cartilage injury is questionable for Sunday against Tampa Bay. However, I wouldn't be interested in starting either Rams running back, no matter whether or not he plays or doesn't. And that's because the Tampa Bay run defense is the best in the league. So even though this is an opportunity for Sony Michel to shine, I just wish it wasn't against this team. The Buccaneers are really going to shut down the Rams on the ground. So I think that's why Matthew Stafford is going to be relied on heavily in this shootout. And that's why I've got confidence in him as a top 5 option. I've got him at number 3 in my quarterback rankings. And then lastly, there's just one piece of news that was confirming what I originally thought, and that's Amari Cooper cracked a rib in that week 1 game against Tampa Bay. I knew he looked like he was in pain, and this definitely explains a lot. There's still plenty of targets in Dallas to not be too worried about it, but it is just something to consider knowing that Amari Cooper is not at 100%. This may explain why Tony Pollard has been so involved and why CeeDee Lamb has been excessively featured through the first 2 games. So those are the injury updates I wanted to give you heading into Sunday. I thought they were definitely important moving forward, and they definitely change a few things in the rankings if those players I mentioned do sit out. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.